And now, you're tuned into RBLR, the home of Tampa Bay's Reveler Sports.
Hey everybody, welcome back to your RBLR Rays show. I'm Ben, with me is Zach. How's it going, Zach? Good morning.
It is going very well over here. Since I have noticed that I've given you guys a weather update every single time we've started the show, I'm going to continue to do that. It is sunny over here. It's been raining all week this week, but now today it's decided to be sunny, which is great. So I'm in a good mood.
Nice. Yeah, I mean, it's been a nice first month of baseball for the Rays. We're kind of heading into the end of April. Going to turn the corner into May. Obviously, that's how calendars work, so that's pretty cool.
That is.
But yeah, I mean, things are going well. Obviously, we dropped 2 out of 3 against the Astros at home, but we finished off a sweep of the White Sox at home. So that's 2, and then they won one of the Astros games, so they're 3-2, and then they just won 2 in a row against Chicago. So a nice 5-2 week. That's pretty solid. They improved their record. So good stuff.
It is good stuff. And I mean, obviously you would have loved to have won the series versus the Astros. And I mean, those games were close. Like, they were definitely winnable games, to be sure, which is kind of why it's frustrating that we didn't win them. Because there were opportunities. That's always frustrating when you have the opportunities to win the game and you don't. But it is what it is. And the fact that they're in these games, like every single game, it's kind of one of the things that I've been saying since the start of the season is every game that they're playing, they're in. They're not like there hasn't been a game this year I've been like, well, they're out of this game. This is over. I'm turning it off in the third inning. So the fact that we're this far into the season and we haven't had one of those games that's just like, well, that was just not good at all, is a testament to how not only this team is a quality team all around, but how this team is not a team that like gives up. Like, they're going to continue to fight no matter what is going on in the game, the score, however the starting pitchers feel is for the game. They're going to continue to fight and continue to have good at bats. And you're going to win a lot of games when you have that mindset of a team like this.
Oh, absolutely. Like, we saw that last night, tight game pretty much the entire way through, all the way until the 9th when Isak Paredes hits that game winner. Didn't even barrel it. He just has that knack for pulling the fly balls in the air and they backspin their way out. So pretty cool stuff. You can backspin your way into liking, subscribing, and sharing everything we do here at RBLR Sports. So I just want to plug that real quick. Make sure you're following us, doing all those clicking things that you got to do. It helps us continue to put together some great stuff for our listeners. And even if you hate us, you can still, well, I guess you don't have to subscribe. You can still share our stuff to like make fun of us in whatever group chat you send this to. So yeah, just make sure you're doing that. It helps us create either really good or really terrible content, depending on how you're looking at it. Oh, and speaking of terrible content, we will be doing a watch along tomorrow during the Rays White Sox game. First pitch is 2:10. I'll probably be on there at like 2:00, getting ready. Should be fun. I'm kind of just going with the flow. We're gonna wing it. I don't have much like planned. Like, we're just gonna see what happens. It's our first time doing it, so I'm excited. I've got a couple people I asked if they wanted to hop on for a little bit from like D-Rays Bay and stuff, and some people from RBLR. So we'll see who shows up, and it should be fun though, because I love watching the games. I usually listen on the radio, but I'm gonna watch this one, so I'm excited.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. I will be trying to hop on at some point. I'm not sure when in the game I'll be trying to hop on, but I will be trying to hop on at some point in the game. It should be a fun series, resolution. I would love to go get another sweep. I see no reason why we can't get another sweep tomorrow. Today we've got a good battery of it's supposed to be Fauché and then Yandy is what I think Tompkin said. That's the battery. I think that'll be a good 1-2 combination. So I have no reason to believe it won't come out with a win today.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, they did that earlier this week when they finished off their sweep against the White Sox at home. We saw Shane McClanahan dominate in his he didn't dominate. He pitched well on the road here, but he also pitched extremely well at home in his last outing against the White Sox earlier this week. He actually had the most whiffs in a single game ever, minimum of like 25 swings or something like that. Basically, it was like he made history pretty quietly too, because I mean, it was a good outing, but like it wasn't like the highlight of the game because Randy had that walk-off hit where, I mean, they won the game. That's how you walk-off hits usually mean you win. So It was a pretty fun game. I was at that one. The Trop was going insane. It was so loud in there. It was awesome.
Yeah, it was just so fun to watch that live. And I just like I have not yet been able to rationalize in my mind what the thought process of walking Wander Franco to get to Randy Arozarena was. Still haven't come up with what they were thinking there. What was the plan? I have no idea. Especially considering that Randy had been responsible for I believe he was responsible for all the RBIs in that game. So like what you thought was going to happen, like I'm like did you just want to go home? Is that the reason? Like you were afraid you might get stuck there until 2? You just wanted to go home? Like that's the only rational I can come up with, because it's like when that happened, I'm like, all right, this game is over. He's gonna either hit it out or he's gonna just pop one over the second baseman's head and we're gonna be done. And that's exactly what happened. And it's like there was, I don't know what the plan was there. Like I always like my opinion on intentional walking is like, I understand why it's in the game and there are certain scenarios in which you do it, but like, I feel like if you're a pitcher, I pitched in high school. So whenever my coach wanted to intentionally walk someone, it always like was a nagging thing in my mind whenever we did it, because it was sort of like, it felt like the coach didn't have faith in me as a pitcher to get that guy out. And I understand like the tactical reasons for why you would do it, setting up the double play, whatever. And so it all makes sense. But like as a mentality thing, I feel like that can be a negative on the player of the team. And then a lot of the times you see a negative result. And I have to wonder like how much, because baseball is such a mental game. It's such a you can get in your head so easily. And you can't tell me that a coach basically saying, we don't think we can get this guy out in the way we would like to, so we're going to put him on base instead, doesn't get in your head a little bit. So, I mean, I just think I understand why it exists in the game, but I'm almost never a fan of it, like ever. Unless it's like Barry Bonds, I'm not really interested in intentional walking people.
So Wander Franco isn't Barry Bonds, I guess?
Not yet. He could be. He certainly could be one day, but he's not quite there yet. Maybe he could be young Barry Bonds. I don't know. And hopefully he doesn't turn into old Barry Bonds, at least not with the whole orange balanced breakfast situation. But like even if he was Barry Bonds and that spot in the game, like I feel like anything you do to like in the point in which the lineup where they were, I'm like all those guys are equally as dangerous as one another. So like intentionally walking one person or another, the odds of those guys, I don't know. I just feel like it was not the best move. But hey, I'm not a baseball manager, so I'm just a dude with a Captain America shirt sitting in my guest bedroom in South Carolina. So I don't know.
Yeah, I'd like to see like the stats behind how frequently intentional walking works, because we always notice it when it doesn't work. Yeah. But when it does work, we're kind of like, okay, yeah, I mean, that was obviously the right choice. So I'll definitely see if I'm sure Baseball Reference might have something. They have like the weirdest stats.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, anyways, the next game, Zach Eflin makes his return. Super strong. Nuke Rayleigh provided all the necessary offense, and they win that game and just kind of were on cruise control. After that walk-off win, it seemed like the White Sox really wanted to get back on their plane or charter bus or tandem bicycles, whatever their owner's deciding. He seems like it's kind of losing the fan base, losing the team, but
it's a tough scene in Chicago right now. Like, let's be real. Like when I follow a couple of guys who are White Sox fans, and it's some tough scenes in the comment sections after some of these games. It's tough scenes right now. Like I don't even know what to tell you if you're a White Sox fan. Like I wish I could be optimistic for you, but and I'm pretty sure that I picked them to make the playoffs this year. That's not looking too good right now at all. They have just fallen apart at the seams. I don't even know what the plan is for them. For the rest of the season, this is tough scenes out here.
Yeah, I mean, they kind of just wasted their whole golden generation of prospects that they had coming in 3 years ago. I know injuries have made it difficult, but it's nothing has come of that whole crop that they've had, and they had a really good system with Eloy Jimenez and Moncada. They still got Dylan Cease. Giolito's good. I mean, he didn't get the win last night, but he's awesome. That changeup is very real. Yeah. Kopech or whatever, I think I'm saying that right. Andrew Vaughn. They've got so many good pieces, but yeah, they just can't put it together. So whatever. We'll take these hopefully 2 sweeps here. That would be nice.
That would be.
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking forward to that. Anything else from that White Sox series before we talk about Houston?
I don't think so. I mean, again, it's you start hearing as you get on social media, you hear a lot of people talking about how the Rays are performing only against subpar teams. But at the end of the day, you have to beat the teams that are in front of you, and performing well, as we've said this before, but performing well against the teams that are not, they're not good, and getting those wins when you can get them, that's going to just bode well for you towards the end of the season. Like if you look at the White Sox, even with how bad they've won 7 games. So there's 7 teams that did not take advantage of the state of the White Sox as much as they could have, and we did. And so at the end of the season, when you look at those tallies of those wins, we took advantage, they did not, and that is what makes the difference between a first place finish and a wild card or not in the playoffs at all.
Yeah, I mean, and nobody was talking about that one year where the Rays were like 19-1 against the Orioles, and the Orioles were like the bottom of the AL East for. I mean, they've kind of started to build back up. They're pretty solid now, but you have to win as many games as possible. Like the alternative is losing the game. Like there's no tying in baseball, so like you want the Rays to lose on purpose because you don't like that they're winning so much. Like just you don't know what you're talking about if you're using that as your argument. Anyways, Houston was a problem. We have a problem. There was a problem with Houston. Aside from Taj Bradley in that first game, he was pretty solid. Actually, that was probably his worst. That was his worst game, like stuff and command wise. He only had 2 pitches working, like his fastball and his cutter hybrid thingy that he does. It's really cool. But he showed off his launch angle influence, which was really, really cool. It was awesome to see because that's what he built his whole career off of. And the Rays ended up taking that first game. Really strong offensive showing. Wander and Randy kind of led the way. But yeah, Taj was impressive because of his pitch ability, but not because of his stuff, because he was not sharp in that game.
Yeah, Pam was particularly impressed with Taj Bradley's performance, and the reason that she was so impressed with his performance is because she finds, and so do I, that when a pitcher does not have his stuff and is still able to get the results that you need to win the game, that's really an impressive thing, because you're not always going to have your best stuff. You're not always going to have your sharpest pitches. And when you can still get the results needed to keep you in the game, that is what is, to me, is the sign of a mature pitcher. It's what we have lamented about guys like Patino in the past, where when he doesn't have his stuff and it's not working, he kind of falls apart. And Taj has shown that he can handle not having all his stuff and still go out there and get the results that are necessary. So that's just an impressive outing to me.
Yeah, it was pretty cool. Yeah, I mean, he obviously got optioned after that, so they can stretch him out to a 5-day schedule instead of every 6 days. So what's probably going to happen is he'll have a couple shorter, maybe 2 to 3 inning outings, kind of as they work him into a new schedule. So instead of doing that at the major league level and taxing the bullpen a lot, in this stretch where we have 30 games in 30 days, they're going to do that in Durham. So the Rays bullpen isn't overworked and in shambles. So the logic there, it totally makes sense. Obviously, fantasy baseball people are upset about Taj going down. People that like watching Taj pitch, which is probably everybody, are upset about him going down. But this is objectively the right decision. You don't want to do that to your bullpen when you don't have to. So it's a pretty easy decision. At least from a strategy, and you don't want to destroy your pitcher's elbows in May kind of decision too.
Yeah, and I mean, what they're saying with that decision is we want to have Taj Bradley on a major league schedule so he can be a part of the major league team this year. So even though it's short term, you're not happy because you're not seeing him, what they're saying is you're gonna see him, just not right now, because we need to get him ready to where he can be the biggest asset that he can be for this team at the major league level. And the only way for him to do that is to get on a major league schedule. So, and you're 100% right. When you play as many games as the Rays are going to play against the level of competition, you're going to have to use the bullpen no matter what. So if you already know this is going to be a difficult stretch of games, the bullpen is going to need to be active, and you also make a decision to further tax the bullpen unnecessarily in that stretch, you're just setting yourself up for failure. So the Rays are making a smart decision to get their player ready in the right way, and to also not force him to get on a 5-game schedule when he's not actually ready for it, and force him to at the major league level, which could be harmful for both his arm and his production. So they're making a smart decision, which we may not like because we'd like to see him pitch, but they're making a decision to best set him up for success. And that is what sets the Rays organization apart, is that they're focused on making sure their team and their players have the most success possible, regardless of what the optics might be of it or what, the fan base might say. They know, they trust their process, and they're getting the results. So we have no reason not to continue to trust that process as well.
Yeah, it's totally fine. Like, the people belly aching about it, like, I get it, but it takes like 15 seconds of reading like a paragraph in a Mark Tompkin article to understand, or like maybe like an extra 10 seconds of like brain power to figure it out. So it's really not hard.
No.
Even like the sports radio people like were kind of like, yeah, this makes sense. So, and they're usually the ones that aren't like that. So yeah, if you got a problem with it, it says a lot more about you than it does the Rays or whoever's making these decisions. I'm sure like the coaching staff and front office are collaborating on that.
Yeah, for sure.
Anyways, the rest of that Houston series, I don't really have anything to say about it. Like the second and third games, it was just Houston played pretty much flawlessly for 18 innings. Like they didn't give the Rays a single way to come through. Like the defense was perfect, pitching was nearly perfect. We saw, I'll talk about it more later, but in contrast with the White Sox series at home and then the one we're in right now, like the White Sox, I mean, they're not a good team, but like every single mistake they're making is being capitalized on. So like if Houston would have made like one or two mistakes, the Rays could have capitalized on it, but they just didn't. So they played a great series. Good game to them. I'm looking forward to the final rematch against them of the year in the ALCS at some point, because I think the Astros are still the second best team in the AL behind the Rays.
Yeah, I mean, and they just have the chops. I think they may be having a little bit of play to their competition syndrome happening with that team right now, which I think you sometimes see with veteran teams who like they kind of phone it in, against teams of lower competition, but they obviously play incredibly well when they're playing competition at their level, as we saw with the series against the Rays. Hunter Brown is really good. He's Justin Verlander Jr. He's really, really good. Like, and I mean, there's no like sneakiness or like, oh, well, he's just really good. Like he's really good, and he's going to continue to be really good. He's going to be a challenge for the Rays to face. And, I don't think and again, I think this is the first time that the Rays have seen him. Is that true? Maybe I'm wrong, but I feel like this maybe they've seen him once before, but but maybe once. May have seen him once, but they haven't seen him very much. So you see, they have had good games against a lot of these pitchers that they've seen multiple times. Him having such great stuff and us not seeing him very much, I think also plays into that. But he's just really good. So I'm not losing any sleep over losing to just a really good pitcher. You're not going to win them all. When the other team plays really well, sometimes you lose. It's not the end of the world. It would have been nice just for the narratives to just be quiet if we could have won that series, because it's getting a little bit annoying. But luckily for us, we have a stretch coming up where the Rays are going to be able to quiet a lot of this sort of nonsense about us not performing against top level talent, because the top level teams are on their way. They're rolling into town, and we're rolling into their town over this next month. It's going to be an intense month, but I think it's going to really show what this team is made of, and I expect us to come out of it really, really strong and to further cement our lead at top of the AL East and just our lead in the American League in general.
Yeah, it's going to be a pretty interesting schedule coming up. We've got the NL leading Pirates coming in. The Yankees are not very good, and Aaron Judge might be headed to the IL, so he might be out that series. So
yeah,
it's honestly like their lineup, like without him and without like Stanton, and it's like that. It looks like the Nationals lineup. So, and we know what the Rays did to the Nationals. So
we do.
I mean, I don't want him to go on the IL because I have him on both of my fantasy teams, but like if it's to benefit the Rays, maybe he needs a little. I think he should go on the IL just for precautionary things. Just to be safe. But for you all to be safe and to take precautions against looking ugly and not having a good sense of fashion, you can head over to shop.rblrsports.com and buy some team inspired merchandise. If you want 10% off, so you can be thrifty and not ugly, you can use promo code FLAPPY. That's FLAPPY. 10% off your whole order. We got Rays, Bucks, Lightning. I think we got to get some like Bucks draft merchandise because they started their draft. They got that cool guy with the no front teeth. That's like, I haven't really been paying much attention. That's like the one thing I know. I'm like, he's gonna be the best player in team history. He doesn't have teeth. Like, that's awesome. So he's got nothing to lose out there. He can go full force.
Yeah.
But yeah, just buy stuff. Links in the description. You know what to do, and that's shop.rblrsports.com.
10% off, promo code FLAPPY.
Yes, FLAPPY. Heading into the. Did you have anything else about the Astros series?
Not really. It's there were some good performances from the pitching side, but I'll talk a little bit more about those later.
Okay, cool. I think there were some good I mean, just eat some innings performances that were pretty important there, which is always important. Like, we love that, and we got one of those eat your innings type of performances in the first game against the White Sox here. Nuke Rakey comes in, and he had home run that game, and then he pitched the ninth inning and saved an inning on the bullpen. And every inning you save now is an inning we get back in October. So it's like, it's super valuable when a position player can come in and do that. Dropping some like 50-mile-an-hour fastballs in the zone. He's throwing strikes. That's all you want from a position player pitching. But basically, kind of going back to what I said earlier, like, the White Sox, they're a bad team, but the Rays capitalize on mistakes. Like, if you give them an inch, they're going to take a mile, and they did that against the White Sox, especially in that first game. I mean, they kind of did in the second game too, and I'll get more of that later. But so cool that this team is on a roll. Also, Brandon Lau is one of the most feared hitters in baseball. He's the most feared hitter on the roster. Over the last 2 weeks, 63% of his breaking balls that he's seen have gone outside of the zone, and it's the 7th most in baseball, just behind Kyle Schwarber. They don't want to throw him fastballs. I think he saw 2 fastballs in that entire first game, and then I think 2 in the second game. And he's had some long at-bats. He's had some at-bats where he's grinded it out, and they're just so afraid of him, but it gives so many more pitches for like Wander and Randy to hit. So him batting behind them is kind of like a sacrifice where he's not going to get pitched to. So he does have to take his walks and be more disciplined, but he's letting Wander and Randy just run wild on every team. It's so awesome.
Well, and I joked about Barry Bonds earlier, but he's kind of getting that level of treatment right now. Like, not quite to that level, but he's getting that kind of treatment right now where they just do not want to pitch to him. And it's funny because we've said this for a little while now, and then you saw exactly why they don't want to pitch to him, because when they have to pitch to him, he almost hits for the cycle. And he might have hit for the cycle if they had thrown him a pitch. And it did, like, you could see that, like, I think it was the 7th inning when he came up to bat. That reliever wanted no part. He was not interested in being on a SportsCenter top 10 video of Brandon Lau hitting for the cycle. He had no interest whatsoever in throwing Brandon Lau a strike. And to have a player that is that that feared and feared by like consistently. It's not just like by some teams, like consistently, and not just like the middle reliever who's just trying to make league minimum. Like, Dylan Cease is not pitching to him. Lucas Giolito is not pitching to him. Like, these are the guys who are not throwing him strikes. And he's just a fun player to watch because it's fun to watch. To me, it's just very entertaining to see pitchers like being on their tiptoes trying to get around him, and then seeing players like Randy and Wander and Yandy being able to capitalize on that, or Paredes or Bethancourt. All these guys that they then have to like come down from him to these other players, and then he just and. The thing that is so dangerous about him as well, as you've talked about this a lot, is he's such a good base runner that if you put him on, if you walk him because you're afraid of pitching to him, he'll just go first to third on you and then score. Like, he's going to be dangerous no matter what you do with him. And, and that's what I think what makes him even more dangerous than he would be if he wasn't such a good base runner is that you can't even justify putting him on base, because if you do that, then he's just going to take advantage of that. So he's a complete player, and he's starting to, and we've even seen his defense show up really well in the last couple of weeks. He's played some really nice defense. So he's a complete player. He is right now, I feel like he's playing the best of anyone on the team consistently. I think it's a really tight race right now, but to have so many players in this team playing at such a high level, it's just fun to watch.
Yeah, it's so awesome. So I'm really glad that he's back and he's healthy this year. Yeah, he's got 88th percentile outs above average this year. I don't expect that to stick because he's been a below average fielder like pretty much his career. But this year he's at 2 outs above average, so good for him. Yeah, I mean it's awesome to have him fully healthy on the team, and he had a really weird sacrifice fly in the game yesterday where it was a sacrifice pop-up to the second baseman, hit it maybe 115 feet, almost an infield pop-up, but the White Sox defense comes through for the Rays, and they all go for the pop-up instead of covering second base. So then Randy tags up, goes to second, and while they're trying to get Randy out at second by throwing the ball to nobody who was there, Yandy actually tags up from third and scores on that sacrifice pop fly. And it didn't seem, I mean, it was like cool that they did it, but they won the game 3-2, and that was one of the 5 runs scored in that entire game. So that base running makes a big difference when you have teams that are going to capitalize on mistakes, and they're good base running teams. So just great stuff from the Rays on that. And then like we said, Isaac Paredes kind of finishes the game with that game winning home run.
Yeah, it's just situational baseball. When you have players who understand the game to that level where they see the opportunities as they're happening, like they have maybe 3 seconds to realize what's happening and make those decisions and make those plays. Like that's what makes you an elite baseball player, an elite base runner, and an elite base running team is you have the players that have the ability to see what's happening, make the decisions, and make the athletic plays to then take advantage and score those runs. Like how many teams in baseball you think score on that play? If you to be fair, the White Sox being a really, really bad play, but how many teams do you think have the players that are going to, number one, have the capability to have the speed and the capability to do that, but also the baseball IQ to realize this is an opportunity to score. Let me take advantage of that. I don't know how many teams make that play. But the Rays did, and they won because of it. And that's why they're going to continue to win even these close games. As you're starting to get into more close games, as you start to play better competition, the ability to take advantage of mistakes, even ones that seem kind of innocuous, like just everybody went for the pop-up, doesn't seem like that big of a mistake, but it becomes a big mistake because the Rays can take advantage of it. And the more you play these teams where you're going to have these tight margins for error, the ability to take advantage of those, even the small mistakes, taking advantage of those is what's going to set the Rays apart, and it's going to win them more games than not.
Yeah, that's why I've been like, the offensive output has been cool. Like they're the best offensive team in baseball. I don't expect that to stay, but the stuff that's really impressive is they've been like the best run prevention team in baseball. They've been one of the best, if not the best, base running team, and those things are sticky. Like that's going to last. So as the offense kind of comes back to earth, which we kind of saw in the Houston series. And, we're going to probably see its next, 3 weeks of the schedule where they're playing really good pitching staffs and really good teams. The base running and defense and run prevention, like that's all still there. So, yeah, just great team performances here. And then we also had some really great individual performances. So who was your bat of the week this week?
So my bat of the week is someone that, I think we often, because he's so consistently good, we sometimes overlook him because we see him perform at his spot in the lineup almost every game, and he doesn't always have the amazing game defining performances we see from some other players because of where he sits in the lineup. But Yandy DIAZ, every game he goes out there, he's taking advantage of opportunities. He's consistently at the top of the WRC plus leaderboards for the Rays. I think he sits at the last 7 days, he's at a 200 WRC plus. For the Rays, some other cool stats from. He's got What does he have? It went away. There it is. He scored 6 runs, which again speaks to, even though he only has 2 runs batted in, but he's scored 6. So he's getting on base and preventing those runs by getting on base. He's tied for the team lead in offensive or just WAR generally. He's consistently such a good player for this team, and it's funny because last year he had a breakout season, and we were kind of like, well, that's probably his ceiling, but it was really fun while it lasted. He's said, no, that's not my ceiling. This is my ceiling. And he's continuing on this upswing. And do we expect him to have a 200 WRC plus for the whole season? Of course not. But he's not showing any signs of stopping yet. So I'm going to keep enjoying it while it's happening and start giving Yandy DIAZ the due he deserves, because he needs to start being in the conversation for the top first baseman in baseball. His name needs to start coming up in that discussion.
Yeah, he's been really awesome this first month of the year. I think it was he's tied his most home runs in a single month with 7. He's just catching the ball way out in front of the plate. Really smart swing changes, or not swing changes, but swing decision changes they've made with Yandy, and he's been really productive with that. So yeah, great power output this year, and some really good stuff. My bat of the week is Isaac Paredes. He obviously had the game-winning home run last night, which was cool, but he also had a 222 WRC plus this week, which led the team, along with an 1139 OPS, which also led the team, and he tied with Yandy with 0.4 FWAR, of course, leading the team. No barrels this week. He's just getting on base. He's hitting the ball all over. He's always had that really good bat control, and he can also turn on a pitch inside and hit a home run like we saw. So really great stuff. Super valuable guys that we had performing. And yeah, I mean, this team is just, there were a lot of good choices this week for bat of the week. Even though there were 2 shutouts this week, there were still like so many great performances.
Yeah, I mean, when you look at the leaderboard on, last 7 days for you have like 3 or 4 guys that are above a 150 WRC plus, with Wanderers up there. Nuke Rayleigh also is up there. He doesn't have as many at bats, so it doesn't quite ring as true as like half the at bats. Some of the other guys, he has like a 280 WRC plus, but we have so many consistently good players, and it brings up a point that I think we keep kind of just saying as like a throwaway, that obviously the Rays won't be the number 1 offensive baseball throughout the year. I'm kind of like, I don't know, maybe they won't be, but like at what point do we stop saying that? Almost like, well, they're still the number 1 offensive baseball. It's like week after week we say, well, they're probably not going to continue to be that. And I think it's true. And I think what we often mean by that is they're not going to continue to dominate by such a margin over the other teams in baseball. Like, it's not going to be so clear that the Rays are the number 1 offense in baseball. But I think this team could be the number 1 offense in baseball this season. Like, I think they 100% have the talent to be that team. And maybe they won't, but like, I'm starting to believe the longer this continues, obviously, they have had offensive performances that aren't as impressive against Houston, and that's definitely true. But so does every team. So I think while they won't be as dominant relative to the league as they have been, relative to the league, I do still think they could be at the top 2 or 3 teams, because frankly, even when they're not fully completely dominant, they're still an incredibly good offensive team and a top 10 offensive team in this league right now. In a year in which, to me, feels like offense is a little bit down as a league right now. Offense is a little bit down, so I feel like the Rays really do set themselves up to be like a top 5, even 3 offense in the league this year.
Yeah, I think they'll still be like a top offensive team, just not like the top offensive team. I'm going to go back and look real quick at offensive numbers by year for the league, just so I can see. I want to know like who's actually good here. But basically, yeah, like the Rays were at like a 180 WRC plus, like earlier in the year after the first couple weeks, and then they're down to 160 and then 150. I think they're at like 145 right now. So it's like starting to drop. They're outperforming their weighted on base average by like a ton. Home runs are up a lot this year. I think that's been like kind of not well documented, but like, people are taking notice. The ball might be a little bit juiced. No shifting is helping with, some of the BABIP stuff, but Yeah, offense is. I mean, I think the average ERA is like 4 something, which is insane. Like,
Yeah.
so if you're under, yeah, it's last year the average ERA was 3.97. This year it's 4.31. So there are a lot more runs being scored. If you got a pitcher with a ERA close to 4, they're actually above average. So,
Wow.
um, yeah, it's weird to contextualize that because I feel like that's never really a good ERA. But basically, hopefully your pitcher of the week had a good ERA. So who's your arm of the week?
My arm of the week did have a good ERA, and he had a performance that is he is an often unheralded pitcher, and I thought very strongly about giving it to the guy I gave it to the last 2 weeks, which is Shane, who did have a very good, he had an incredible outing, but I wanted to change it up a little bit and give some props to the Flemdog because he ate some innings that we needed him to eat in a game in which he pitched well enough to qualify for the win. Did not expect him to come out and pitch 6 strong against a very good Houston lineup, and not allow any runs at all. I was very impressed with his performance, and it definitely was an innings eating performance. But I mean, he gave the Rays a chance to win, which is all you really want from him. And if you told me that Josh Fleming was going to pitch 6 innings and not allow no runs, I would have told you we would have won that game. We didn't. That's okay. But like, if we can continue to get outings like that from him, and if he can continue to figure things out and be that bulk guy, like I think we can give you some very impressive outings for him as the season goes on.
Yeah, his pitch mix and like his sequencing were really, really good that game. He's been really good this year. Like the results don't fully match what he's done, and if you just compare his FIP and his ERA, like you'll see, like, oh wow, he's getting pretty unlucky. So he's an awesome innings eater. I don't think he's someone that will be included on a postseason roster unless something either goes like really great for him or really wrong for somebody else. But yeah, no, eating 6 innings is awesome, and they could have won that game. Maybe they should have, but Houston really played like a nearly perfect final 18 innings. So it is what it is. But yeah, Fleming was super valuable in a way that's really hard to quantify. But you know the Rays are thankful for that because 6 innings they save now is really helpful later on in the fall. So good stuff from Fleming. My arm of the week. He came in and got the save last night. Kevin Kelly. He got 1 out. He got the pop up that he needed. He's actually been really, really good this year. But first, I'll talk about his week. He led the pitchers this week with the 0.2 FWAR in just 3.1 innings, and he had a 1.55 FIP. So really impressive stuff from the rookie Rule 5 pick. The Rays have actually had quite a few rookie pitchers used this year. They've used 9 if you include Luke Raley's rookie pitching debut. Otherwise, it's been 8. But Taj Bradley has 15.1 innings and a 0.6 FWAR pitching as a starter, and then Kevin Kelly is right behind him at 15 innings and a 0.4. So, yeah, I mean, we love what Taj Bradley's done. He's been great, but Kevin Kelly has been secretly like really valuable. I think he's been like top 15 in rookie pitchers, like in terms of WAR. Hunter Brown's at the top, but he's kind of been on like, he's got all the volume to do that.
Yep.
And the Rays as a team actually have the most FWAR from rookie pitchers this year in the entire league. So to go along with a 3.36 FIP from their rookie pitchers, which is insane because rookies are not very good, like 99% of the time. But when you've got Taj Bradley, Kevin Kelly, Clevenger, Bristow, and Birdie count as rookies too. I guess Fauché might still have rookie status according to Fangraphs. Chris Well still has rookie status. Trevor Kelly allegedly still has rookie status. I'm a little fuzzy about that, but basically those top 3 guys, Bradley, Kelly, and Clevenger, like those are players that I would expect to be on the roster in, the meaningful part of the year near the end. So really cool to see them performing so well early in the year as rookies.
Yeah, I mean, he's got a fun delivery, and coming into the game the way he did last night, that is about as tough a situation as it gets. You're in the cold. You probably did not expect to be pitching at all because you see Fairbanks coming in and he gets 2 quick outs. So at that point, you're probably like packing up your sunflower seeds and getting ready to go home. And then all of a sudden, the wheels fall off. He's I can't pronounce the condition that he's dealing with. We can talk about that a little bit later, but he's definitely dealing with something. And then you have to come in to get an out with 2 runners on runner in scoring position in a 1-run game. That is a tough ask and he did exactly what you want, which is induce soft contact. what more can you ask? Like that's such an impressive outing for him, and it's really fun to see these guys at the Rays. It's always fun to see these guys at the Rays find and see what they can do, and really see what they can do. It really means just, hey, we're gonna believe in you and help you to do what you do well, even better, and we're gonna give you opportunities to do that and give you opportunities to be a part of a winning team. It's really fun stories every year, and Kevin Kelly's just the next example of that.
Yeah, he really is, and I expect him to stick with this team. I mean, obviously, kind of has to because he'll get offered back to, I guess, technically Cleveland because he was a Cleveland player, and then the Rockies took him, and then the Rays traded for him. So I don't think he'd get offered back to Colorado. But yeah, I mean, I expect him to stick around and continue to grow into, more meaningful innings. Like, not every inning he's had is meaningful, but he's had a couple. He's got 2 saves already. He's had some like medium and high leverage work where he's been successful. So hopefully they keep it rolling. But yeah, I mean, that's it for our players of the week. And we covered some of the questions that I got on social media. So if you ever have any questions, comments, concerns, thoughts, you can send that over to us individually on Twitter or any social media, or just at RBLR Sports, where you can also follow us on any social media thingy and let us know your thoughts, questions, ideas, anything like that. We're always happy to talk about stuff and kind of work it into our show. So thank everybody for all those things about, like, Taj, and I think that was like the main thing people said, and Eflin and Randy and Wander, like that, just, the stuff we kind of covered. So yeah, good stuff. In terms of like miscellaneous news, Jose Siri came back, obviously, which was great. Big boost for the defense. We already mentioned Taj got optioned. Ryan Thompson's back, which is cool. So Zach Birdie, who had options, got optioned, and Heath Hembry, after his like 2 innings, he got DFA'd and he elected free agency. So wish him the best, and thank you for your service in those 2 innings, because that's 2 more innings that Fairbanks and Adam can pitch now in October.
Yeah, and I like this. I feel like I have to be honest about this with the way that options work. I was like this year old when I realized how options work. For some reason I thought that you had like a certain number of options like in your career. That you had like 7 options you have for your career. That's not at all how it works. Apparently you have years of options, and then you have like 5 options a year, and I did not know that at all. And so I was always super confused about the way options work, and I just kind of was like, I'm just going to let those people do it and not think about it. And then you explained it to somebody on Twitter, and I was like, oh, that makes so much more sense now. But yeah, Siri coming back is definitely a big boost to this team defensively. You see it, a lot of times you don't even notice it because he makes plays look so easy, but it's definitely good to see him back. I am slightly concerned that they may have rushed him a little bit from a batting perspective, because what has sort of happened since he's come back is what I was kind of afraid of. I mentioned a couple weeks ago that when he came back, he wouldn't translate the same offensive success he was having before the injury. That's kind of what's happened so far. A little too early to tell. I mean, he could just be, kind of ramping up a little bit still. But, I think we could have afforded a few more games in Durham to let him keep back up offensively, but I trust the Rays to make the right decisions. I just hope he gets hot again soon.
Yeah, me too. I mean, he was overperforming his expected weighted on base average by like almost the most in the league, so it was inevitable for him to come down. But yeah, I mean, he'll still be like the 80, hopefully 90 WRC plus bat with, best center field defense in the league. So that's that. I'm fine with that. I really don't care if he hits his weight at all. Like if he whatever they say, like if his batting average is, I don't know. I don't care about batting average, so I'm messing this up. But anyways, yeah. Speaking of injuries, glad Siri is back. Sean Armstrong, he is throwing off a mound. He's going to begin some spring training style buildup pretty soon. Still 3 to 4 weeks away. He'll be back in late May when he's around the time when he's eligible, maybe a little bit after. Glass now, really great news on him. Obviously, last week I said he was feeling 100%, fully ready to go. He's going to work 2 up downs in a bullpen session at the Trop today, and then, assuming he's good to go, there's no, lingering issues, which is kind of expected because he's feeling 100%. He's going to begin some rehab this week, possibly in Durham. and that's going to be about 3 to 4 weeks of spring training style buildup. So Glasnow is really close to returning. No setbacks there. Kittredge and Boz, no updates. But Yandy, shoulder issues resurfacing. He left the game early yesterday. He had a planned day off today anyways, so he wasn't going to play. But he said he's available to pinch hit. He's extremely tough, so I kind of believe him. And he also had some dehydration stuff earlier this week, which was weird. But he's fine with that, so he'll probably be fine with the shoulder. Just got to monitor that. And then Pete Fairbanks, as we know, ran into some trouble because he couldn't feel his fingers. He's got, I'm going to try to pronounce it, Raynaud's disease, where like cold weather affects his ability to feel and grip things. He said he was fine. He wanted to stay in the game. Like he was telling Cash, like, I'm good, but they took him out for precaution, which was definitely the right choice. It's just something you'll have to figure out. Maybe they can get him like a hand warmer. Like he's not going to go on the IL for it. He's fine. He was still really effective. Like his stuff was fine. He just couldn't really command it, which is a problem if you're pitching in high leverage. But really, if they can just figure out something where he doesn't have to pitch in cold weather, or if they can get him a hand warmer when he does, he'll be totally fine. No concerns about that. I mean, it sucks that he has it, but yeah, it is what it is.
Well, and it's one of those things that it just is more reason to get home field advantage for the playoffs, because guess what? Our stadium, you're not going to be cold in the Trop. So if you win, if you get home field advantage, you don't have to worry about it. And I think Cash had a comment there. They got to figure something out and keep his hands warm. I don't know, like the logistics of, is the umpire going to have to stick his hand in the hand warmer after he comes off the mound, make sure there's not sticky stuff in there or whatever. Just be a weird optic. But they'll figure something out. It's not a huge deal. And again, any time he pitches in the Trop, he's going to be fine. And during the summer, he'll be fine. It'll just be something that they'll have to work out a plan for when you get to October, when you do have occasionally to pitch games on the road. But they'll figure it out. No concerns.
Yeah, I mean, the worst case scenario is he just doesn't pitch in cold weather. Like he's totally fine when he's not pitching in cold weather. So yeah, I mean, that's kind of it for like any news, injury stuff. Oh, the Rays are opening up the upper deck next weekend for the series against the Yankees. That's pretty cool. I'm going to the game Saturday there. Nice. Super excited. Maybe Aaron Judge isn't there, but I'll be there. So it's basically like a pretty good trade-off, I guess. I'm there pretty much every Saturday, honestly. Yeah, I love the Trop. Anything else before we start wrapping it up here?
Yeah, I don't think so. I think, we're, the series finale against the White Sox. I have every expectation we're going to win today. I don't remember who the White Sox are. So I can find out who the White Sox are starting today. I forget. It might be
Lance Lynn.
Is it Lance Lynn? Lance Lynn's kind of fun. He's kind of fun to watch. He gets a little excited verbally, so he can be kind of fun to watch. Although he hasn't been performing super well this year, but he's definitely can be fun to watch. So that'll be fun. But I expect us to win today. Probably like a 5-3 type of game. Mm-hmm.
I kind of hope, with Yandy out, I'm hoping we can finally see Josh Lowe getting some time at the leadoff spot. I have a feeling it'll probably be Brandon Lau, just because he's like statistically like the best leadoff hitter in team history. So, and he's, lefty on righty, kind of want that matchup, but I like Brandon Lau a bit lower in the order. So it kind of gets everybody else more pitches to hit. Like, I feel like that's a little, no offense to Siri, but like if Brandon Lau's batting first and Siri's batting ninth, like it's kind of a waste to have like all the fastballs going to Siri, because he's not like as productive as a hitter as like Wander or Randy or even like Paredes. So yeah, if they could just drop him or keep him dropped, that'd be great. But yeah, maybe we see Josh Lowe lead off today. Who knows? Weird late Saturday night game, 7:10 first pitch, and then 2:10 Eastern time tomorrow for that watch along. So that's gonna be on YouTube. We'll share the link on social media. Just come hang out, I guess. We'll talk about baseball, we'll watch the game, we'll have some graphics. Make Eureka do extra work with these graphics. So definitely show up for that.
Yep, absolutely.
But I guess that's it.
Yeah, I think that's it. I think the only other thing, my interesting thought about why Brandon Lau might be so good in the leadoff spot is because the pitchers fear him so much. It puts an interesting amount of pressure on a pitcher to have to start their outing with someone that is that much of a concern to most pitchers.
Yeah.
That's an interesting wrinkle. I'd be curious to see how, considering the way that the pitchers have been treating Brandon Lowe this season, it'd be interesting to see how the Rays continue to move him into the lineup as they are known to do.
Right. No, that's a good point, because like he's I mean, it's not every pitcher, but usually you want to like get a feel for your pitches when you're starting, and you don't want to start off the game throwing like 10 straight breaking balls. Like you want to kind of be able to throw a fastball, because like that's one of the easier pitches to grip and throw. So if you got to start off with a bunch of breaking stuff and off speed, like you're already kind of, I mean, it's good to like just, jump into the fire and not ease yourself into it. But for Brandon Lowe, like you're going to get some mistake pitches. So because everybody's scared of you. So yeah, maybe that works out. I have to pee and blow my nose and possibly poop too. So just make sure you all subscribe to our podcast. We're on Spotify, YouTube, the iHeartRadio app. Give us good reviews. Apple, Google Podcast, YouTube, if I didn't say that. Also YouTube again, because we're going to be on the watch along thing tomorrow at 2. Follow us on social media. Go Rays. Yeah,
Rays
go
up.
Rays.
Thank you for tuning into this presentation by RBLR Sports. On your way out of the stadium, please remember to like and subscribe.